Hello and welcome to Kiki's Chat Show. Today is 6th of March 2024 and it's Independence Day for my country, my beloved country, Ghana. I do not know why. I have lived outside of Ghana longer than I have actually lived in Ghana in all my years. And yet I have this feeling, this strong emotional pull. My whole being is connected to Ghana. I don't know why. I do not know why, but it's a whole spiritual thing, ancestral thing. It's the need, the smell, the need for Africa is always around me. The minute the weather, I can even smell the weather when it's raining in Ghana and I'm here in Europe. This is because Africa is in me. And I have that. It's not a chip on my shoulder. It's bloody arrogance, the arrogance of being an African. And I have it. I have it so strongly because I live in a country or in an environment where they think we are nothing. And I know that I am something. I cannot speak for everyone, but this is me. And today is my country's independence. It is not a new country. Ghana has always been there. My ancestors go back centuries. However, we had to wrench ourselves from the oppression and bullying of the West. So we called that day 67 years ago as independence. Still, they have their clutches on us. And my people, every movement, every breath, everything we do is to remove those chains from ourselves. The chain of poverty, the chain of bullying, the chains of suggestion. We need to remove it from ourselves. This is not the topic for today. This is just something that I'm sharing with you because today is Ghana's Independence Day. And let it etch in your mind if you're a Ghanaian. Let it stay with you. Think about it. How do you feel? The country. It may not be the country of your birth, but it is the country of your ancestors. And it is it is where you come from. And if these people hadn't come to make our lives so dire, we would not be where we are. I'm talking for the diasporans. This is a show for mostly for the diasporans outside of Africa to keep connected to Africa. And I'm telling you, my people, wherever you come from, if you are elsewhere from your roots, always keep your roots in mind, because if you are rootless, the wind will blow you away.
That's true.
Remember this. Now, today's topic is what is womanhood today? I am surrounded by very powerful women in different, the word is diverse walks of life. They do different things. But somehow we connect, and we connect because we have something in common. We're all women, and we love being women. And we are doing what women must do. And these ladies are here to talk about what womanhood is today. I shall let each one introduce themselves. Namele, go.
Thank you, Auntie Kiki. So, to those who don't know me, I'm now Amelia Santiama. Spent most of my life in the UK, as you can hear from the accent, of Ghanaian heritage. I now reside in Ghana with my two boys. I'm an employment lawyer by profession, a life coach and mentor, and a lot of the work that I do is with women and mothers, helping them to redefine who they are, rediscover what they love, and do those things without feeling like they're neglecting their family. I'm also the creative the Black Women Venting Room, which is a space for us melanated Indigenous sisters worldwide to share and honor our emotions without being gaslighted. So thank you. I'm looking forward to the show. And thanks for having
I
me.
also have, thank you, Nameli. Now, I also have Miss Ekwa Eileen Bailey. She's going to tell you who she is.
Greetings to everyone. Yes, so I'm Aquia Eileen Bailey. I am in Ghana at the moment. I have of Jamaican heritage. My background is mental health. So I've been schooled in different ways with regards to dealing with people who have mental health challenges. I've been living in Ghana for about 3.5 years, spent most of in the UK. And as I said before, I'm Jamaican. And in Ghana, I'm helping various teams in various ways. One of the teams I work with, we help to give information around mental health. The rest of the team do nutrition and we do agriculture. In Pram Pram, I'm working with schools, just supporting them with their infrastructure. We did a presentation last Wednesday. We managed to get some laptops for them so that they can help with their education. And those are the things that I'm involved in at the moment. And I'm very, very, very grateful to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have Naja.
Greetings, everybody. My name is Naja Munyinyi. I am a Kenyan woman here in Nairobi.
We can't hear you, Naja. Is your sound working?
A lot of feedback.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
My name is Naja Nyakeo Munyinyi. I am a resident of Nairobi in the country of Kenya. I'm an energy healer. I have a podcast show, which is called the Mito Podcast Show, and it is centered around alternative healing of the womb, W-O-M-B for the womb. I call women womb men, W-O-M-B men, because we are human beings with womb.
Naja, you got lost for a moment, but that's okay. That's okay. My first question is, and this is a question I think I should ask Ikuya actually, because she's Jamaican and she's a Jamaican in Ghana. She now lives in Ghana. She's doing all these amazing things in Ghana. And I need to know what you think about women. How far have women come from what you see in your mind? You've lived in Jamaica, you've lived in Britain, and you've gone to Ghana. How do you see women? Have they evolved? Do you think they are stronger, better, more able, of mind, of spirit, of soul? How do you see them?
Yeah, I feel that women across the board have definitely evolved. I think that we've grown in all the areas that are pertaining to women. I feel that we are finding our voice. We are recognizing our strengths. We are coming forward. I feel that we are finding ways to connect with other women. We are also acknowledging things like mental health. In the past, it was very difficult for people to even have a discussion or anything about mental health. In Ghana at the moment, the mental health institution is around 11, 12 years. So it's still in its infancy to a certain extent. But there are platforms and there are people I've connected, networked with people that are here. I have other sisters that come from outside of Ghana that we work with. And people are recognizing the need to actually look after their mental health. So as women, we're accessing these different platforms. We are connecting with each other. We are not in isolation as we used to be. I don't think that we're at the same place in terms of Ghana, UK, Jamaica. We're not at the same place at the same given time in terms of progression. But I would say I have a family member who's a clinical psychologist in Jamaica. And so I can say I know a bit about where each country is at, not in depth. I'm living in Ghana, so I can speak about Ghana now. But I've just come off of a platform with a team in the UK. So the way that we're moving forward as women is benefiting us because we are now connecting with each other. We are realizing how we can exist and we are speaking up. And so that's my take on it. That's my experience at the moment.
Okay, Naja, as you are somebody who is deeply into the womb, from womb to the description of what a woman is, what is your I'm looking for a word. What is your translation for a woman? Womb man, a woman. How do you see a woman?
Kiki, I am going to ask you a question, but at the same time, I'm very hesitant. There are some things which of late are not allowed in the media and on YouTube. So I hope that this response is not going to flag this. So a woman is a human being who is born with a womb. Now the womb is an organ. The same way that we have hearts, the heart is an organ, liver is an organ, the lungs are organs. The womb is also an organ. And this womb exists in the body, the fetus at 20 weeks. Within the womb are what are called ovaries. And these are also formed within the womb at 22 weeks. So when a woman is and she has a baby girl within her pregnancy, that baby girl at 22 weeks has a developed womb, fully developed, which has ovaries. This is what is called the generation, because the woman is pregnant, she has a girl who has a, and in that baby womb are ovaries which will belong to the grandchild. When a girl is born, she is born with this extra organ. That extra organ, because it's a separate organ, it has extra nerves, extra blood vessels which are attached to it. This is not to discriminate, but it's just to say that women have a womb. When we are born, that is why there's this terminology which says that we are born as little womb men. The only difference between a little woman and an older matriarch is the amount of time that they have spent on earth. The similarities is that they are both born with wombs, and they are both wired women. Back to you.
So basically, I get what you're saying. How, Namele, how are the roles of women in Africa changed? Is it for the better, or is it worse? Is it additional, added on? Is it respected? Is it not? You don't have to answer the is it respected part. I can ask Akuya that, but the role of the African woman in Africa, has it changed?
I don't know necessarily that the role has changed. Maybe our view about the role has changed, and it depends who you ask. We're still the main homekeepers. You know, the center, the foundation of the home, whether or not we have a husband or a partner. Everything still does, I would say everything still does revolve around us, in the sense of the responsibilities we still have, whether you're a mother who's married or not, whether you are a woman who works and then still cares for the family. For the majority, it still is that we are the homemakers. We don't, it would be the minority that, if you like, get to put that to one side if they too are the ones that go out and work. So in that sense, it's not changed. And it depends from which time you are asking that it's changed. Because I would say or submit that, you know, in times gone past, way, way back in times when we had more matriarchal societies, and, you know, the mother figure, whether she was a biological mother or not, but the mother figure would be the one who is operating everything, you know, wherever the money comes on from, whether she generates it herself or it comes in from sisters, from men, or what have you. She's the one who is, if you like, the delegate, make sure everything runs as it should. And in today, the difference between then and now is the respect for that role. You said you'll ask Equia about that. The main thing for me, the thing that is lacking, is we're not where we need to be when it comes to the respect for what women do. The men are struggling. Conversation maybe for another time, but when I say they're struggling, because we are in a state where here, primarily being a very religious country, the general line is, you know, the man is the provider and the protector, and that's an issue where you have lots of homes where there's no man. So if you say the man is the leader, you know, the provider and the protector, so what? The women who don't have them, they don't have leaders, they can't be leaders. So that whole issue about then the woman running the home, that she by herself, in her own right, can be a leader, whether or not the man is there, that's a whole nother issue that we haven't really accepted. It still is very much the norm that, you know, at least it is said, and this is no disrespect to the men, my sons, that, okay, if that's their role, to be the men, to be the providers and the protectors, then where does that leave us? In reality, in practice, what you see day to day, without fail, is us running our homes. However we do it, with help, without help, that's what we're doing. And from that perspective, I don't think the respect is where it should be. I hope that answers your question.
In a kind of way, it does. It answers my question. Ekuya, what about you? I'm talking about the respect from what. Sorry, I was busy writing my question in the chat that but when you talk about respect, when you talk about how things have gone, there was a time when the African woman was respected. It can be said that the women in Greece were respected. There was a time when they had the temples in Greece. Women, Athena, and all those people, they were the respected ones. Men needed to go and ask them permission to do certain things. Great men, Caesar, etc., in history. And it's the same situation in Africa. We women, and even up till my grandmother's time, for me, I remember a lot of people, men, coming in to ask permission to do certain things. Trouble at home, men would come to talk to the grandma, the matriarch of any household, etc. It is not like that now. Men have sort of taken over. Everything is all over the place. Men do not even know what their job is, in my view. This is my view. But this is a personal view. Now, to you guys, especially the question directed at Ikuya is, how do you see that? How do you see respect? Seeing that you've been in different countries for good chunks of, experience, how do you see it?
Yes, it's a great question because, the respect, we are clutching at straws, to be honest. We're clutching at straws in terms of, okay, so when I was in the UK, I worked part-time in a hospital, and you had to fight as a woman, and as a melanated woman, double to get respect. And I can honestly say that I got the respect, but it was work. It was work, and it was like you had to be over and above. You had to make sure that you were heard, and you had to stand your ground so that you could be respected. And I remember they'd never used my name. If the doctors or whatever, they never used my name. I was the black short lady with locks. They never used my name. I very rarely anyone said to come to find Miss Bailey or anything. It was a description, and they would assume what my role was. And I think it's very much the same in the UK at the moment. In Ghana, it's painful. If I'm honest, it's actually painful because I don't feel free in certain platforms and in certain places. I know very well, without a shadow of a doubt, that I'm disrespected as a woman. If I try to employ a security guard for somebody to help me with security, for instance, the respect that they will give me is completely different to what they would give to a male, and it's very obvious. And then the expectation is that I shouldn't have a voice, I shouldn't have choices, I'm not supposed to choose, I'm not supposed to be as independent as I am. They try to put you in a certain box, and because that doesn't even fit my personality and never will fit my personality, I will give myself permission to be, and that no one's taken that away from me. So because I have that energy about me, I feel that it's a problem for a lot of men. And I think in Ghana, they're not used to that. They're not used to a woman saying what she wants, getting what she wants, and making choices. So you're up against that as a woman. However, I think it's important to say that is my experience, and that's the experience of a lot of my friends, a lot of my circles in Ghana. It hasn't stopped us from stepping up and moving forward and speaking up and saying what we want and what we need. So in my mind, I see progress there, but I also see the fact that now we are, as I keep saying, that we've got a voice. So men have to see us and think slightly different, because we're here saying who we are, what we think we can do. And it's not a case of we don't need them or anything. That's got nothing to do with it. It's basically we will demand the respect. We will do that, and at some point we will definitely get it. But in terms of saying that we are respected, no, we're not. Are we taken seriously? I don't think so.
That's sad. If we're not respected, then how do we move forward? Now, this is a question for Najah. How do we deal with this? We're not respected. This is the nutshell, the crux of what Ikea is saying, and basically what Namele is alluding to. So, how then do we deal with this? There's something wrong with your sound because I cannot hear you. I mean, you can hear me instant, but I know, and I there's something going on. I need your view on this. I don't know how. Shall I give you some time to try and sort out your? It's just the audio. Don't take yourself off. Just try and sort your audio out while I speak to the other ladies, because I need to know. And hold the thought. The question is to you. Hold that question, because I need to know where we go from here with this situation. Thank you. I'll be back. I need to ask back to Melly to ask her. Okay. Let me give you an example about experience that I had when I used to be married. In fact, it was when I was newly married. It wasn't long. I mean, I'd been married for maybe 4 or 5 years. This is years ago, though, because I'm an old woman and I've gone through the whole gamut of experiences. But when, in the early years of my marriage and all of that, I had my babies, and a guy came to the door and he was selling carpet cleaning thing, and it was interesting because he was a young black man. So he comes into my house, I see come into my house. He came into my house and he was coming to demonstrate a machine that cleaned carpets, and you can do it yourself and blah 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 blah. But what he said to me was, yeah, he needs to do the demonstration, but where is my husband? He needs to do the demonstration with my husband there. So I said, what do you mean? Where is my husband? If I buy this thing, I'm the one paying for it. He said, well, it would be good if your husband agrees to it. So I opened the door and I said, well, please go. Because I am going to pay for whatever it is. If I agree to the carpet cleaning, it's my decision, And he was kind of like, oh, what is this, and went. And at the time, I was quite cross, so I didn't think deeply on it. I was just so angry, and I'm like, this stupid upstart, you come into my house, you say you're selling something. I'm interested to see, but he's not going to demonstrate unless my husband is there, because he's not going to use the items and things if my husband is not there to agree to buy it. Agree for what? That's one. Another time, while still married, one of my in-laws, this is an in-law, he came to my house, a man, he came into my house and he wanted some bulbs. He needed some particular type. There were these new type. This is when lights were being changed and all of that. And there was this particular lights that I had bought in the house, and he came in and he wanted one to go and try because someone had fixed something in his house and he needed this new type LED, kind of lights, and he was very intrigued with the lights in my house, so he thought he'd borrow one and go and fix it in his kitchen or somewhere. But he needed to ask my husband permission. So I said, why? And he said, well, it's your husband's house, isn't it? It's it's I don't want trouble. If he's buying everything and all, maybe I can just ask him for one bulb. And I said, well, he's not here. So if you need to ask him, then he's not here. So when you see him and ask him, and he will allow you to come and take the bulb, come and get it. So off he went. Of course, that bulb never got to him because I buy those bloody bulbs. And so if you need to ask the man, then it's up to you. You didn't even ask me, so that I will say, oh, let's ask my husband because is your husband there? Because okay, fine, ask him, and then come for the bulb. These kind of situations are there. Maybe it is respect, maybe it is conditioning, maybe it's something I do not know. But in this life that we're leading, even if it is respect, could you not have asked me is it possible? Can I do this for you? Or do we have to wait? Do you see what I mean? But to give me the disrespect at once, even before we start and those are my problems. Those are my things. And every time I think about them, and I never forget them because I think that they are slights. These are slights which they make without even thinking. Naja, is your sound working now? Do you think you can jump it?
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Beautiful.
Okay. So I don't think he was disrespecting you on purpose. I think he was respecting you. Because back in the day, it was respectful to ask the male in the house before they do anything. So it was a sign of respect to you to first ask your husband's permission, not to come and just take something without your husband's permission. Do you understand me?
Yeah.
That said, a lot has changed in the years between the generation of our parents and the current generation. So what we find is that in Kenya, we call it the season of the girl child.
The what?
And season of the girl child, where the girl child is educated, she's sent to school, and so much a lot is directed. I'm not going to use the word pressure. A lot of the girl child, the focus is on the girl child. And the focus has been on the girl child for about 20 years or so. On her education, on her treatment, on eradication of things like FGM and young marriage. Okay? On focusing on the woman. Ever since we had that conference of women, the one which was in China, when was that? So the focus has been on the female. It has been on the woman. And in that focus, where we are focusing on women's education, women's rights, women's health, women's housing, women's everything. Where we're talking about gender equality in regards to their ability to work in any environment, etc. The world has switched. It has switched. It has switched from what it used to be, which was a very strong patriarchy, and it has switched to a matriarchy. The melanated African woman also has begun to be heard a lot. She wasn't heard before, but now she is focus. Being heard a lot. Also comes about because of what indigenous rights, Black women's rights, Black and brown women's rights. So the Black African woman has never been heard like how she's been heard. And in that being heard, there's a shift in the paradigm shift. Where men before used to push women, today women push back. Let me give you an example. A simple example. Anything. A man can come to you today and say blah, blah, blah. 10 years ago or 20 years ago, our mothers and said, yes, you're the man, you're the head of the house, yes, what you say is correct. I will go make myself submissive, whatever it is. Today you tell a woman the same thing and she's all over you. She's just all over you. And the men are dumbfounded. They don't know what to do. They don't know. They don't know what to do. And within that space of not knowing what their role is anymore, they become frustrated, very frustrated. So they can take out their anger in different ways. So going back to the question, what do we do about this as women today? It is the onus is we who understand there's a paradigm shift to begin educating both our and mostly the generation behind us, and to begin to focus on these slight and sometimes very varied differences. And say, you know what, it's not like it used to be. There's been a shift. Things are different now. Let me give you an example. When I was growing up, I used to use the dial phone. You know those phones where you stick your finger in and then yeah? Well, I don't use them today. Times have changed. Times have changed. What do I use? I use a touch screen. In the same way, we as women and the men, we have to redefine our and we have to, because they're not working how they used to before. The man can't just stand there and shout at the woman and have everything go his way. Neither can the woman, by the way. So we have to address it and then begin to address both socially on the social level and on the legal level and on the health level, the mental health level as well, in order for us to get back to working together as men and
Equia, coming back, listening to Naja when she talks about the mental level, what is your view on that? Because I personally think that women's roles have changed. That is true. If the roles have changed in the homes, it's changed because now they're out there working. Women are doing big businesses, etc., etc. Roles have changed. But I think mentally, the only change mentally for women is the fact that their mental issues are being addressed to a point that you are not dismissed just because I know there are certain men years ago who would put their wives, they would dismiss their wives as she's mental so that he can have another woman additional, or even dismiss her, send her from his home to marry another woman, etc., etc. The woman's mental situation can be used by the man when he's the perpetrator. But now, even though the issues are addressed, I don't know if it's for the better. I don't know. I'm asking you though, because I don't know.
I don't know if they've been addressed or how much they've been addressed. Okay? I can't say. I think they've been acknowledged by the woman. And I think that her sisterhood and maybe members of her family acknowledge the mental health of the individual. We're talking about women. You see, one thing that's very important to say when we're looking at women, life never stays the same. It's never going to stay the same, and it never has done. So we are definitely changing and evolving and moving. And if we don't move with the times, because we just get left behind anyway, that's just a fact. So when it comes to the fact now that mental health is on the table, it's now a part of conversation. And people are understanding, like I know previously, before I came to Ghana, we were saying something was about in churches and people being, and people used to be told, from a spiritual standpoint, that you are possessed, demonic behavior and stuff like that. And sometimes it's nothing to do with that. It's just that someone is going through something and they are responding. There's an area of their life where they've been challenged mentally and they're responding in a way because they're struggling in that particular area. So now we have education around mental health, and now women are acknowledging and identifying, then they can actually now talk about it. It's always been an issue to find a mental health practitioner that is going to be able to understand you as a melanated woman. That's always been an issue, and I feel it's going to be an issue for a very long time to find the help that you would need. And so sometimes I feel that although it may be identified, to actually get the help to deal with and for you to actually understand, because even though we're talking about men creating the environment or not understanding certain things about women, when women menstruate, your moods change. That's part of managing your mental health, your moods changing. And so if men don't understand this, if we don't share the information with them, we shouldn't really hold them that much accountable. I think the education with regards to women and men at the moment is very, 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 very vital. It's extremely vital. That's why these platforms are crucial for us moving forward when we're identifying the effects of just daily life, relationship, responsibility it's very important that we understand how and look for the signs of mental health. And if we can address these things at the very beginning because we understand them, things don't necessarily have to erupt in a way that you can't get it back. So I feel that education, understanding that we're changing, the mental health struggles that women will experience as a teenager is not necessarily the same mental health challenges that you will experience all the way through your life. But if it's not addressed when you are younger, then it has a bearing on when you are older. If you're not married and you get married and you suffer some depression as a teenager, you take that depression into your relationship, you take that depression into your marriage. It's not good. It's not a good sign for you as the individual, you as a mother, you as a wife. It's just not going to be good. So it's about educating ourselves. So I think that I would love to say that it's been addressed. And some people, it's not across the board. It's like we're saying, respect. It's not every single man disrespects women. And it's not every single woman that doesn't have their needs addressed when it comes to mental health. But we are far away from where we should be. Definitely, we're years away where we could say that a woman, it's easy to recognize what she's going through. And if we don't recognize it ourselves, we can't share it with people. So I think education around mental health is very, very important. And that's one of the ways forward for male and for female.
When we talk of education, we're nearly done. So I think everything that we're saying now is kind of wrapping up and seeing where have we got, even with this discussion, how do we see? So Namele, for example, she talks about education and how then, apart from education regarding mental health, the whole of a woman needs education or not.
We all need education, not in the form of classroom education. We all need information and guidance as to how. Sorry, what did you say?
I didn't say anything. Okay. I mean, I'm listening to you regarding education as a whole.
Okay, it's okay.
For the girl child.
I heard a no.
Womanhood, and that's
okay. I'll go back to what I was saying. I was saying that yeah, we need education, more information, guidance as to how we understand ourselves, and not just for the women, and for all of us. Obviously, we're talking about women. There is a valid point that's usually made that, if all the focus goes on us, then it's like, but we're still saying that we're living in a world with the men. So at some point, somebody, not necessarily us, maybe, has to address that. But what I mean about the education information, for instance, the whole reason why, mainly part of the reason why I opened the Black Women Venting Room is because when you're saying that we may be aware that, we have these emotions, our mental health, there then becomes challenge as to, do you go and ask anybody because of the stigma? You don't want to be judged, you don't want to be laughed at or what have you. And then even if you've got the courage and you want to go forward and get help, can you afford it? And, Ekwe has already spoken about where the mental health industry is in Ghana compared to the UK, where I would say there's much more resources available to address those kind of things. But here in Ghana, not quite there. And also because the way we normally live, I would say that generally as Ghanaians, we don't really do emotions. Children don't really get taught about emotions in school. So when you talk about education, there's us, the children, there's us, the women. It needs to start earlier than that. It needs to start with the children, because as Ekwe said, if things are not addressed there, they grow. For us, the women, our challenge is having to unlearn all of this conditioning, this experience about pressing forward with things no matter what happens. Oh, I don't have time to sit down and complain. I can't afford to cry. This, that, all these barriers that we've had, that we don't have time to address how we feel and what's going on in our head, because it's seen as almost like a nice to have. It's not seen as a requirement. That's why there's a distinction between, it's like mental health. And a good point has been made in the past about when you distinguish things like that, then you can categorize, can't you? And you can prioritize them differently. Like, you'll focus on your physical health because that one is obvious. You can see if you're limping, or you can feel, if something is broken. Whereas other people can't necessarily tell if you're depressed, and like, clinically depressed, they can't always tell if that is happening. So it needs to start earlier. And for us as women, part of the whole thing is about re-establishing our trust in each other as women, so we can share these things. Because yes, there are men out there who are compassionate, who know how to listen. The main issue is that we as women collectively, we've been so disconnected that we don't share these things and are able to express these things to one another. And it matters because our emotional impact is broader, it's bigger. Where you find one woman in the house, however she's feeling, everybody in the house will pick up on that thing. It's not her responsibility, it is how we are made. It will impact everyone. And that's why we have phrases like happy wife, happy life. When your woman, or the woman in the home, she's doing well, everyone else does better. So it's about making spaces, whether it's online, whether it's sister circles, in person, where we get to just say, how we feel. And it's not necessarily that we're looking for a solution. Because a lot of what I hear sometimes, though, oh, why vent? I don't see any point in sitting down complaining. That's not going to do anything. And the thing is, number one, there's a way to vent. There's a way to put your words to your how you feel, so that it's healthy, actually does something. And number two, you do that so that you can clear your mental and emotional space, clear the decks, so the solutions can come to you. So it's a way of calling in what you need by offloading the excess emotional baggage. So we need more interaction, more community amongst women, but we need to reestablish that trust amongst women, and we need to be teaching about emotions in school.
We need to be teaching emotion in school. In
We
school,
need
who's
to
going to
be
teach?
we
What topic would that be? So there'll be a specific teacher to teach emotion.
there are Well, think about it. I mean, Akuya here is a mental health specialist or what have you, but these are things that we can all learn because we're human. It doesn't have to be somebody that has necessarily letters after their name to. And some of the things they do, I think maybe in kindergarten in certain places, is they teach children how to name their emotions. Anger may look like red, or how does it feel? So, in my son's school, they have something called Our World, Our People. I'm going to drop off in a minute. Our World, Our People. But it will be something that is about your well-being, your general well-being. And why does it matter? Because you're a human. You will take your emotions to school. You'll take your emotions to work. As much as people say, "Oh no, can't show your emotions," unless you've managed to close yourself down so much that you don't show anything, there must be a way, a place where we know that, okay, I'm feeling really angry right now. I can't have an outburst at work, but okay, I need to make an excuse. I need to go to the bathroom. I need to go run an errand. I need whatever it is to be able to regulate ourselves in whatever space that we are. And that cannot only be done at home. It can't only be
Now,
done at
can
home.
I just stop you there? Because first of all, we have very little time now, and I need Najat to give me. But I need to say to you that
Okay.
in the years ago, there were people who were attached to schools, even in the UK, in America, who dealt with pastoral care and who they had a name. I've forgotten what it was, but maybe Ikea can remember it. But those people, they don't have jobs anymore. They don't have them in the schools anymore. And I think that whilst we're trying to, I mean, this morning, for example, I did put that it's Independence Day and therefore we need to revert back to factory settings. It is there has to be responsibility in families as well, where you try and deal with your children.
Of
You
course.
talk to your children, you sit with them,
Of course.
you eat with them, you talk about their mental health. If that school is not good enough, take the child out, because we cannot forever
Exactly.
think that the outside world is going to sort our problems for us. But this is my personal view. I mean, there
Exactly.
was
That's
a
why I said
time when
home and at,
pastoral
but it can't
care,
just be at school.
I think even here, even this milk of human kindness alleged in the Europe, they don't have them anymore in the schools. None of those people are working in the schools anymore. And therefore, we need to move away from those
But we are
thoughts, and we
looking.
need to start thinking of
Oh,
how we had systems. For example, I'll give you an example, and all of this is eating into the time because I need to speak to Najab. But for example, funerals. We have systems where when a person dies, people come together. People are there. They're not there for the fun of it or to eat your food. But there are systems in place, which has been in place, and elephants do it. Elephants do it. Hippopotamus, animals do it. They come together when someone dies or when a member of the animal clan dies. It is a kind of a way to help the person in pain deal with the situation. We need to go back to it. That's more the African way. And we need to move away from this cold hearted milk of human kindness outside methods where things are not addressed, things are pushed under the carpet. We've learned it. And I'm telling you, it's not helping. We need to go back to the way that we had human connections, and in the same way, children connections. Because of the way that our families were, there were aunties and things where if your parents couldn't talk to you, your aunt would. Some people had the rough aunt to deal with the naughty child. Some people had the kind aunt to deal with the person, the sensitive child. We had jobs for people which we are neglecting now. Naja, I need you to be part of this conversation. Come, tell me something, because we've only got 2 minutes to go.
So maybe we can discuss this next week about emotions. My parting shot would be that emotions is a short form of energy in motion. Energy in motion.
Yeah.
And there are different types of energy. And those energies are called anger, depression, sadness, love, peace, like that.
Yeah.
And a little chart which I have and which I can share, and then we can discuss this next week.
Okay, thank you. We will definitely discuss this next week. Next week, the topic is mother-daughter relationship. And so somehow we're going to talk about that and how it affects the woman child, because there are, and I'll tell you something, there are women whose mothers and aunties and things are there with them along the way. Therefore, it helps in their marriage, in their children growing up, and then there are those whom there are different types of women. There are some who don't listen to advice, and therefore when bad things happen in their grown-up adult life, they say, well, you don't want to listen to us, so it's on to you. And then there's a type who has no one. So there, either they have their neighbors or friends they've created or something who helps them. Some people listen to their friends, and some friends are bad. And so they also go through all sorts of things. There are different situations for different people. Maybe next week that's what we're going to talk about. I think our time is up. I want to thank everyone who was listening today, and if you are listening later on and you couldn't listen today, because today's a holiday in Ghana, so I'm sure everyone's getting partying and getting drunk, etc. So but we will continue this discussion in a different vein, and the vein more is mother-daughter relationship, which can enter into aunties and cousins and influences, good or bad. We can talk about that. So, ladies, thank you so much for coming. I am humbled that you are happy to join me in these discussions. Sometimes these are thoughts which we all think about that we may not articulate until you meet someone who thinks the same way as you, and then really. So I'm glad you are here. And for the listeners, the people who stayed up to the end, thank you for listening, and share this video to your friends so that they listen as well. And if they have any suggestions, additions, so that we can talk about it in the next installment, which is just next week, Wednesday. This is going to continue every day, every Wednesday until the end of March. Thank you, ladies.